Freon in this system. Got the specs, got the gauges hooked up. I got a thermometer inside the car, so while it's running, we can make sure it's actually gonna work. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start the car, look at the pressure on the low and high side, check our specs, and then see how much Freon we need to add. Check the specs and see where we need to be. According to this chart, it's been raining. It's about 85 degrees outside. So we're gonna shoot for this temperature range. Probably anywhere between the 35 to 50% humidity. So on our low side, we're looking at 30 to 39 PSI. And on our high side, 184 to 219. So let's see what we get. On these gauges, there's no purge for the center fill line. So I'm just gonna purge it at the end, make sure I get any air out of there. That way when I hook it up to the Freon, we're not pushing any air into the system. Can is tapped, hooked up. Both gauges are still shut. Still around the same. And again, we're shooting for 30 to 39 on the low side and 184 to 219 on the high side. So keeping the can upright, we're just going to want to open this and watch the gauges. Movement, take your can and kind of move it around. Sometimes it'll get some more Freon out. So it's not sucking anything in more than what it's done. This can's still pretty full. And the temperature's not changing. So I'm wondering if something else is going on with this AC system, because gauges aren't changing. It's not taking up anything. So comparing the weights to these, this is about half a can, this is a full can. So it took half a can, which is about what I expected for what the gauges were showing. Now here's something interesting. Got back in the car, checked the thermometer, got pissed off because it's still 80, 90 degrees coming out. So I got in the car, put my hand here. Yeah, that's pretty hot. Yeah, it's pretty hot. But on this side, there's ice cold air coming out. Literally this vent and this vent, hot air. This vent and that vent, ice cold. I mean, look at it, it's already dropping down to 60. So maybe you Camaro guys know, this car does not have any sort of split AC. I doubt there's a mixing vent or plate in there to divide the driver's side air and the passenger side air. So what am I missing here? I'm gonna have to dig into that a little further. But we got cold ass AC now. It's just still dropping. Let it run for a few more minutes and we're down to about 50. So the AC is definitely working. I just gotta figure out why this half of the car is literally lukewarm and that side of the car is cold. Again, if you know if there's a mixing valve for 5th gen Camaros, let me know, and let me know how bad it is to get to, because I don't only imagine the dash has to come out to get to it. One of the easier fixes we're going to do on this car is fixing this trim piece. So probably from all the moisture being in the car and the heat of Texas and Florida, the 3M tape just kind of let loose on this guy. So what we're going to do is clean this real good, put some 3M tape back on it. If I got some adhesive promoter, I'll put it on there. Clean this side, do the same thing, clean it up good, and then due to alignment, put the tape on there and then align it as good as I can, push in, we should be good to go. Super clean, use some alcohol, put some new 3M tape on, and then we will get this affixed. Should last longer than the car. So I did a little light reading on the blender flap, and basically from GM's perspective, if the flap actually broke, you need to remove the windshield. Then there are some long bolts that hold the dash to a bracket that need to come out, pull the entire freaking dash out, and then you can get to the blender. The only saving grace would be is if I take this panel off and get to the actual actuator, turn the car on, turn the AC on, and change it from hot to cold. If the actuator doesn't move, it's just the actuator and I replace that and I'm good to go. If it moves, the blend door is broken and I'm screwed. Pull this trim panel out, pull this footwell AC duct out. Then you can come down here, pull the actuator out, and what we're going to do now is start the car and see if it actuates. That's bad news, because that's moving. It's slow, but it's moving. Which means it's actuating that plate, which is not the problem unless it's broken. Still getting cold air out of here and here, hot air out of here. So back to the drawing board. I can pull the carpet out, pull the dash out. I've seen some people not have to pull the windshield out. They bend this bracket down so you can kind of get those bolts out and then pull the dash out. So I'm gonna have to do that. For now, I'll live with the fact that only half the AC works. Let's get that exhaust going. Last time we worked on the exhaust, all I did was mount the two tips just to see if they would fit and to get them out of the way. And then we cut the stock Y pipe that connects to the turn downs with the cats on them off the header. This actually has a built-in H pipe to it. Didn't know how far back to go, so I just cut it as far as I could where the resonator started. So what we're going to do is, to the tailpipes, we're going to mount these, see how far out they come, mount this back to the header, and then see where the X pipe is going to fit. Now I assume, since everybody was using this as an X pipe, it's not actually a muffler, the H pipe is going to get replaced, so I'm assuming it's going to get cut somewhere around here, but until we mount everything up, we're not going to know. After we do that and we do some measurements, this will bolt straight to the tailpipes. Then we got couplers for the end of the muffler, but for this part, wherever we cut it, we're going to weld the X pipe to it. Alright, everything is up and loose. No clamps are done yet, so I still have adjustment. But this is sitting kind of nice. It's high, it's not hanging down low. So, obviously I got way too much of this Y pipe coming out. So, to this pipe, we're going to do the X pipe. So what I'm going to have to do is measure maybe like 1/2 inch go into here where it's flared out, measure out where I'm going to cut here to weld the X pipe in. 2.5 days later, it's done. Starting from the front, these stock clamps, this one stripped out. I had to weld a new bolt into it and re-tap that one because it was all marred up. And if we scoot down, this is where I wound up cutting these front Y pipes. And then for ease of install and tweak and everything, instead of welding this straight to the X pipe, I put torque clamps on, which are not leaking. Everything's nice and good on there. I scoot down some more. I had to not only resplice more pipe to this X pipe and add additional length to it, but back here, if you notice, this pipe and this pipe aren't even the same length when everything's installed. So I had to extend that pipe so everything would sit flush. Then down here, everything lines up. We got nice clearance around everything. And then they bolt to the rear of the car where the 5-inch outlet tips are. So let's see what this thing sounds like. Bonus, when I was messing around with that valve down there, it seems like the AC on the driver's side started getting much cooler. It's still not as cool as the passenger side, but it's way cooler than the lukewarm I was getting before. So I don't know if it did a recalibration from, turning the car off, turn it back on, but that's promising. Maybe I won't have to take this dash out after all. Exhaust is all done, and I picked up another surprise for the Camaro. Now you see it. And there we have it. Some aftermarket wheels. Now, they really make this car look like it's sitting like 4x4. So, to resolve that, and to get rid of this almost fist-sized fender gap, I got BMR drop springs. 1 1/4 inch. So that should be more than sufficient to get the Camaro to sit where it needs to sit and still leave a little clearance for these massive 315s to not hit the fender well. Now, something I didn't know and was pleasantly surprised, these Camaros don't necessarily have a lip. They're already pre-rolled, pre-flattened front and back. So I don't have to worry about those 315s smacking the fender. And the same for the front. Nice and rolled. Now if you've caught that already, one of these wheels is bent. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. I gotta reach out to the seller. But I'll figure it out. Now that all the major mechanical stuff is done, we're going to tackle the exterior. Kind of what I went over in the last video. We're going to fix that bumper, pull this out. I got a new Z01 piece for here and this flare right here. Gonna get that painted, this repainted. Black out the Camaro. The GM badge is gonna come off because with these black wheels, I think it just kind of stands out a little too much. And then we have tons of dents we gotta pull out. Somebody was not too kind to this car. Rebadge that. And actually looking at the back with all the black and little hints of chrome, I think I'm gonna black the taillight surrounds out too. Do like a flat black to kind of give it a little contrast back there. And then more dents, more dents, more dents, tons of dents on the door. There's some on the fender. So we'll pull those out. We'll give this thing a real good detail. And still gotta fix the ZL1 side skirts and put those on. So next video, look out for a lot of external stuff.